music for me. How you doing?
Que pasa, que pasa, que pasa, loyal members of the Wrestle Talk family. Welcome to episode 292 of the Wrestle Talk podcast with Joe and Renee. Joe, I continue to have technical difficulties, but I'm not going to let that stop me. I apologize once again for being late. But I'm happy to be here, man. How the hell are you?
I am doing absolutely amazing. I'm drinking my Dos Equis out of my Wrestle Talk podcast mug, which is nice and cold. It was in the freezer, so it's nice and cold. But we're talking about WrestleMania, about how Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss won the women's tag team titles. But like I was saying, you know, it kind of baffles me why they still have women's tag team titles when you only have, what, 2 women's tag teams?
Is that all there is, Jonesy? I hadn't even thought about that. Kudos to you for...
Yeah, because you haven't seen the Iconics for a good while. The tag teams that you have right now that are women in the WWE is Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, I guess Bayley and Sasha Banks, and the Richard Warriors. That's it.
Really? Is that it, bro? Is that it? Is that all they're giving us right now?
I believe so.
Wow, that's a shame. And you know what? I erred on the side of caution for this matchup and really did believe that the Kabukis were going to hold off. Well, guess what? I was 100% wrong. There's no question. I was 100% off base. And I want to welcome everybody who's tuning in right now on the Wrestle Talk Podcast Facebook fan page. So sorry that we're late. Shout out to Rob. Shout out to Kurt Gannon. Shout out to Shelly Conway. Everybody who's tuning in. Shout out to Big Hoss, guys. I know we're a little bit late. Please share this broadcast. Again, I apologize for my tardiness. Technical issues galore, but we are back. And I got the camera adjusted for those of you that were saying, hey, that camera looks a little wonky. Got it taken care of for you guys. But Joe, you're right. It's very, very difficult to justify having championships that don't have a whole lot of people competing for them. And to be honest with you, I think it's a little disappointing. Because the argument has been made that there is no richer talent pool right now than the talent pool that the WWE currently has in place, Jonesy. But yet, they struggle to get these sorts of things off the ground. And it doesn't make a lot of sense, which, for me personally, I would have loved to see the Kabukis keep the titles. Because I don't think Alexa and Nikki did that great with the belts the first go-around. And to your point, where the hell have the Iconics been? Not that they're a truly legitimate, incredible tag team, in my opinion, because they're more of a comedy gimmick, right? But nevertheless, having more bodies in the mix is a good thing, not a bad thing. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Assad. Thank you, Nigel. Thank you, John. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Please share this broadcast, guys. And make sure you dial that number, 657-383-1521, to continue to support the Wrestle Talk podcast with Joe and Renee. Jonesy, there's something else that I want to talk about, man. And I know this is the high spot segment, and I'm real excited. Because you know what? There's a lot of naysayers. But I would have to contend that considering the circumstances, WWE absolutely outdid themselves. And I dare anybody to dial that number and challenge me on that. Tell me what you saw that makes you feel like it was subpar. Because let me tell you something, guys. Had any of us been put in the same position, I don't think any of us could have done any better.
No.
Right? No. So, again, 657-383-1521. What do you say, Jonesy? What are you thinking?
Yeah, and the main thing is you and I both know that there are people out there that if WWE
You're absolutely right, Jonesy. There are people that cannot be pleased.
Yeah. Well,
It does mean a lot to us that you guys are making time when you could be binge watching something else. So just from me and for Joe, we just want to thank you guys for making time, whether you're watching us live right now on the Facebook fan page, or you happen to be catching the replay at WrestleTalkPodcast.com. I want to thank you guys. And of course, Jonesy, I don't know if you hit on this yet, man, all the wonderful sponsors of the Wrestle Talk Podcast, the Conspiracy Farm with Pat Milicic, and our boy Jay Hollywood. Thank you guys for supporting us. That's UFC Hall of Famer Pat Milicic. Yes, I know if I shave the beard, the mask is more efficient. But you know what? I don't know, bro. This beard, this is a long-term commitment for me, and I don't know how quickly I'm going to get rid of the beard just for, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's worth it for the sake of my health, but man, this beard is now part of my identity. So cutting the beard loose is going to be something that is going to almost have to be mandated, bro, because I absolutely love this thing. It's finally almost getting to the length that I want, Nigel. So cutting the beard is going to be something that's going to be a major, major moment once I decide to do that. I'm not cutting it for the sake of putting on this stupid mask. No way, dude. No way. It ain't happening, Jonesy. I'm not going to let it happen. Well, here's the other thing, Joe. Oh, what'd you say, buddy?
I said, I can tell you, I'm watching the Facebook Live, and that your drink looks a little bit smoky. What are you drinking tonight?
Man, nothing special, bro. Good old-fashioned American Miller Lite. That's all I'm drinking, bro. Nothing spectacular. Nothing too out of this world. And by the way, Jonesy, I'm trying to hook you back up, man. I'm trying to get my audio situation situated, but it just doesn't want to situate with me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to get you back on loudspeaker, Jonesy. I apologize to everybody who wants to hear Joe as well. These are the consequences of doing live, folks. So you'll have to forgive me. That's how it be sometimes. Joe, are you back with me? Joe?
Absolutely. We
There you are.
got so much more stuff that we can talk about from WrestleMania, and I gotta say, one of the highlights for me at WrestleMania was the Boneyard Master. That match was absolutely one of the coolest things that I've seen in quite some time. That is the perfect match for The Undertaker. Why? He didn't have to do much. He didn't have to take very many bumps, and it still made him out to be a legit badass. That was absolutely an amazing, amazing match. And every time that I watch that match, when it starts off and they bring out the casket and music, and then it's The Undertaker, and they open it up, and it's AJ Styles, and he starts laughing, I can't help but just laugh at it.
Well, here's the thing, Jonesy. I think these are two guys who have earned the trust of each other and everybody within the company. So for these guys to be given the opportunity to do this, and I have to say, everything that I've seen says to me that they were giving an extraordinary amount of creative freedom. If you guys go and check the Wrestle Talk Podcast Facebook fan page, we actually shared some of the backstage images, behind the scenes images, I should say, of how that whole thing got put together. And I'm glad for those of you who follow us on Facebook, because you were able to participate in that as well. So for me, I don't think there are two guys that could have been chosen that could have done a better job. But I also have heard, and again, I want you guys to dial that number, because I've heard people fuss and complain that it looked like it was something out of a movie. Which, you know what? I can't dispute that. But considering that it was what it was, I have to say that I don't think that they could have done it any better, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I don't want to hear about whether you liked it or not. I want to hear about what you would have done differently. Because it's real easy to get up on the microphone, right, Jonesy, and say, oh, that was trash, bro, that was trash. But then if you don't have something else to bring to the table to counter it, or to say, well, you know what, that was trash, but if it was me, I would have done this, this, and this, then I don't really think you're bringing anything to the table that has any validity behind it. So if you're going to crap on it, at least tell us what you would do differently. What's up, Nathan? What's up, Owen? What's up, Mike? What's up, Drew? What's up, Mahler? What's up, Matt? Tell us where you guys are checking in from. I'm in the mood to give away a Wrestle Talk Podcast mug today. Show us and tell us where you're from, and we're going to pick somebody throughout the show that is going to go home with a Wrestle Talk Podcast mug. So I challenge anybody out there who thinks that they know what could have been done differently. And again, I want to hear from somebody who doesn't like what they did. If you loved it and if there's something else that you would add to it, sure, you can come on, we'll talk to you about it. But I want to hear from somebody that doesn't like it, that thinks that they could have done a much better job than what we saw. I'm very, very curious to hear from someone that has that perspective. Shout out to Todd, too. DJ Swag, that's 2 G's. Shout out to my man DJ Swag. Love you, Todd, bro. Thank you for being here. But what else we got on deck tonight, Jonesy?
Well, let's go ahead and get to a caller, because we do have a caller. This is these are my good people.
I'm doing good. How you doing?
We're doing great. So good. What were your thoughts about WrestleMania, and what do you think you could have done better?
Honestly, the WrestleMania was totally different. I will say that without the I will say that all the time. But here's the thing. To give us the entertainment that those wrestlers did was phenomenal. I don't care. It was awesome. To change it, I don't know. There's nothing I can really say because I enjoyed it that much. But I will also say one of my favorite matches to watch, and it really wasn't a match, it was The Fiend versus The Cena, versus John Cena.
Okay.
That storyline made my eyes open up so much more. I've been a fan of wrestling since mid-90s. And to go from different generations to generations and to see the way John Cena was brought in and what he did and everything is totally remarkable. It took me back to the times that when he first started off and what he did through his time of being here. And it was a very well put through story.
Wow, you know what, Jones? I think that's a perspective that a lot of people share, and kudos to you, Chris, for bringing it to the table. Now, it's easy, I think, in retrospect, to have a strong opinion either way. Was there something that you would have done differently? 2020, hindsight being 2020, is there anything that you would have done differently after witnessing the show?
No, honestly, the show, I don't think there was anything that needed to be changed. In retrospective, the show went on the way it should have went on, and to give us, with what we're dealing with in life right now, with the virus, they pulled everything out of that they could, and they did a phenomenal job. So I wouldn't change anything, because it was so great.
Awesome, man. What an incredible perspective. And I know we've got a few other people on hold. If you get a chance, si tienen la oportunidad, dial that number, guys. 657-383-1521. You're listening to the hottest pro wrestling podcast around right now. #1 in the Midwest. And we're making some waves around the country and across the globe. For those of you who don't know, we have been heard to this point in over 40 different countries. And Joe, I don't know if you knew this, but 11% of our listenership is coming out of the UK right now. That's very exciting. So shout out to our buddies, the Brits. I don't know if it's because they think we're the other Wrestle Talk and they just hit our name on accident, but it stayed pretty consistent. So I would like to believe that we're actually picking up some steam over in Europe. And shout out to the 3% of our listeners that come from Central and South America, especially my home country, the beautiful country of Mexico. So shout out to everybody who's tuning in. But I do want to hear from some more callers. Again, guys, 657-383-1521 to be a part of the High Spot segment. Now, Jonesy, I know a lot of people are asking. We are going to have the CEO on the show. In case they didn't hear the open, why don't you go ahead and tell the people, Jonesy, exactly when CEO is going to be joining us and where he's repping.
The CEO is going to be joining us on the second hour, which is going to be 9:30 Eastern Time, right after the FWWC segment. CEO is a big wrestler in the Eastern Panhandle. You can see him wrestling for EPPW. You can see him wrestling for WDWA. He's wrestling for our good friends at Kirby Pro. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be an absolute amazing interview. He's never been on the podcast before. I know he's got a huge following. So that's going to be absolutely amazing. And I do have a little bit of breaking news. So, Ethan, tell me if you can hit that news drop for me real quick. So, apparently, from what I'm reading, on SmackDown, they are going to begin with a touching tribute to the late Arsenio James Styles, who met a untimely demise last Sunday when he was buried alive in a grotesque televised spectacle of depravity called WrestleMania. Teary-eyed sports entertainers were gathered on the SmackDown stage, 6 feet apart, of course, as the bell is in total memory of AJ Styles, who was only 51 degrees. Although criminal charges have not been laid out, it is widely believed that The Undertaker, whose real name is Kev Calloway, is responsible for Styles' past, given that millions watched The Undertaker dump a backhoe loaded of dirt onto Styles' lifeless body. So could we see The Undertaker getting arrested for murder?
Joe, what are you talking about, bro? Are you pulling your information from kayfabenews.com again, Jonesy? I mean, come on, bro.
Of course.
Of course. Seriously, what have I told you about going in?
Kayfabe News is business sports. Like it's real news. I mean, they have stuff like wrestling fans are ordered to make temporary suspension and relief permanent. They got stuff like WrestleMania pre-show enters its 9th hour. So, come on.
9 hours of a WrestleMania pre-show? My God, Jonesy. Well, listen, I'm going to go ahead and take this moment and eat a little bit of crow. Because a couple of months ago, maybe a few weeks ago, and guys, go ahead and share this broadcast. We want to see the thumbs up. We want to see the hearts flying across the screen. Support the Wrestle Talk cast, and thank you guys for being members of the Wrestle Talk family. And make sure you send this as to many people as possible, because I'm getting ready to eat some crow, and that's something that, like I'm pulling the Jericho when he tries to say he can't say sorry. That's how I feel, bro. But here's what I gotta admit, Jonesy. You, sir, you called it. And I argued and debated and made a great point, I think, and I might even convinced you a little bit. I did not think that Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair was going to happen, because I did not have the foresight that you had. You started to think further ahead than I did. I thought that the NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown was like very much a Survivor Series thing, and it wasn't. They carried it over. And you know what, dude? It was a freaking home run. Now, I will say that the yelling and screaming without the crowd in the background to kind of to break that up a little bit was a little weird. And as my children and wife came in and out of the room where I was watching, they were alarmed, because they're like, whoa, is somebody getting murdered or something? And there were some other references made, but I'm not going to bring those up on the air. But it was just bad. Okay? It sounded like over 21 content in certain moments in that match. But aside from all the yelling and screaming and softcore porn that was going on, okay, I thought it was fantastic, bro. They hit a home run, And I think they did the right thing by letting Charlotte win the NXT Championship. Again, this is coming from a guy who thought it wasn't going to happen. So, Joe, I tip my my face mask to you, my N95 mask to you, and say I was wrong, you were right, you're smart, I'm dumb, you're handsome, I'm ugly, I'm fat, you're not. Okay, no, we're both fat, so I can't give you that one. But my point is, you were right, Jonesy, and I got to give you all the credit in the world. You deserved it, you called it, and it was a freaking home run. So I tip my mask to you, sir. Ow, damn, I shouldn't have let it go. I tip my mask to you, Joe. You were absolutely right. Shame on me. So there you have it.
I accept your apology on one condition. All you have to do is say that Ozzy Gallagher is the best wrestler ever. That's all you have to say.
Come again? What'd you say?
All you have to do, I will accept your apology. All you have to do is just say that Ozzy Gallagher is the best wrestler that has ever stepped foot in it.
Well, that's never going to happen, so why don't we just go ahead and move on? Never that! You never getting that out of me, cuz. Never!
Oh my goodness. So, that was basically night one. Of course, well, we can't go past night one without talking about the fact that the WWE finally pulled the trigger and we finally have Braun Strowman as the WWE champion, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Braun Strowman was able to beat Goldberg, and I don't really think that they had a choice. Like, I think that whoever that they were going to put in front of Goldberg was ultimately going to beat him because the WWE had no plans for Goldberg to hold that title after WrestleMania. I think that it is a really, really good idea to have Braun Strowman as the champion because of the fact of how big of a guy that he is, and him and Roman Reigns have had matches before. So this is just going to renew a rivalry that they've already had. So I'm pretty interested to see exactly what they're going to do on SmackDown when Braun Strowman.
Okay, stop right there.
Because you know that.
Stop right there. Okay. When I see and hear BS, I gotta call a spade a spade. Our boy Ref Drew of everywhere, right? XWE, KCXW, the guy's all over the place. He says Goldberg is still the GOAT. If you make statements like that in the comments, we're going to demand that you call in and explain yourself. Because Iron Sheik... Yo, what up, Todd? Welcome back, dog. But when you make statements like that, you piss Iron Sheik off, and we demand that you call in and explain yourself. Right, Sheiky?
Fucking bullshit!
There we go. We want to know why you think Goldberg is the GOAT. I think Goldberg deserves his place in history, but for you to call him a GOAT in the same breath as The Rock and as Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold and Undertaker, I think is a borderline insult. Because in order to be a GOAT, in my opinion, you have to have the full package. And I know you're going to make your argument, well, Night Owl, that's Night Owl with a K. It's Night with a K. Stone Cold only had 4 moves. Yeah, bro, that was later in his career. Okay, it was later in his career. We all know that early on, Stone Cold, Steve Williams, okay, was a great technician in the ring. And then he got to a point where his health wouldn't allow him to do some of the things that he was doing when he was with Brian Pillman on the Hollywood Blondes. Goldberg never displayed the same type of ring acumen that those guys did. And don't even hit me with the Hulk Hogan nonsense, because if you go and watch some of the New Japan stuff that Hulk Hogan did against like the Great Muta and such, you can see that he's very capable, but was never allowed to do that. You tell me when you saw any of that from Goldberg. I want to hear from anybody who makes a statement like that, and I want you to back it up. All right, I got some more comments coming in here, Jonesy, about Goldberg. From our boy John over in VA. He says, Jones, your Haas impression needs work. And then Canada's in the house. What's up, y'all? Hey, Aaron Helms, what's up, man? I hope you got my video, bro. I love you, brother. Thanks for your ear and your mentorship, bro. It means a lot to me. It says, but beating Goldberg should be like Strowman's rise, him not losing Goofy in 2 months after he drops the belt to Reigns eventually. You're going to have to retype that a little bit because you kind of lost me a little bit there, Daniel. Hogan could go, but people paid for the 3 moves. That I 100% agree with. Here's Drew responding back, Jonesy. He says, all 4 of Goldberg's moves were believable. Stone Cold did 100 punches with no blood and no knockout, then wins with a jawbreaker. Jeez Louise. How dare you call the Stone Cold Stunner a jawbreaker, man? That was the most electrifying move in pro wrestling history. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. I absolutely disagree with you. Use your chic soundbite on that. You don't tell me when to use my soundbites. Man, Drew's in here raising all types of hell today, Jonesy. What else are we going to talk about, brother? What'd you say?
But yeah, so, I said, Drew's being a troll. But of course, like Drew is disagree with everybody just because he likes to disagree with
Drew, you are the man at getting heat. You are the man. Well, guys, let me remind you one more time that we do have a very, very special thing going on right now. We want to contribute and help out the independent wrestlers that are not able to produce income for themselves right now. Okay? And the way we're doing that is we're encouraging you guys to go to WrestleTalkPodcast.com or just shoot us a DM and go ahead and start customizing your Wrestle Talk Podcast mug. We will get your name engraved at the bottom of the mug. Total price for the mug itself is $20 with the engraving, plus shipping. If you live in the area, I will personally go drop it off to you. So don't worry about the shipping in that situation. But if you purchase a mug, we will take half of our profit, which is $5, and we will give it to your favorite wrestler, wrestling promotion, or a charity of your choice, and we will prove that we donated that money. So if you've been looking for an incentive to buy a Wrestle Talk Podcast mug, guaranteed to make your beverage taste 17% better, make sure you shoot us a message so we can get started on customizing your Wrestle Talk Podcast mug today. And again, your favorite wrestler, your favorite promotion, or your favorite charity, that's where half of the profit, which is a total of $5 for every mug sold, will go to one of those 3 at your discretion. Go ahead, Jonesy. What else you got?
So, apparently from what I have been reading, apparently Brock Lesnar was not happy at WrestleMania. He wasn't happy that he had to do the match in front of no fans. He wasn't happy that he had to lose the match. And apparently, he wasn't happy that he wasn't getting paid as much as he was getting paid. And because of all of this, and because of his antics, he got into, apparently, and this is just from multiple sources, he got into a verbal altercation with Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon had Brock Lesnar removed from the WrestleMania set because of everything that he was doing backstage. Now, of course, Brock Lesnar has had a history of complaining whenever he was, especially at WrestleMania. So, apparently from what Vince McMahon had said, from the sources, Brock Lesnar is done in the WWE. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but it could very well be.
I'm not buying it for a second, dude. Absolutely not. And you know what? I have to say this. And I know we got some callers, guys. Hang tight. We're going to bring you on, okay? For those of you who want to get on, no guests in the first hour during today's show. So you guys got a full 20, 25 minutes to come on and talk wrestling with us. Bro, you know who doesn't get enough credit? Brock Lesnar. Dude, the more that they played that clip back of him getting eliminated at WrestleMania, or as I watch the match and I see him sell his freaking ass off, dude, the more I'm impressed. I mean, seriously, like, nobody wants to give this dude his props, and I get it because of the whole part-time stigma, and people are always fussing that he never shows up and that he should be there every week, which doesn't make any sense to me because that takes away the kind of his main appeal, which is him being kind of an attraction instead of like just a regular typical guy that's there every week, week in, week out. So from that perspective, I don't necessarily agree. But I mean, come on, guys. If John Cena gives the man props and says, you know what? This dude is a credible professional wrestler. If you guys don't appreciate Brock Lesnar, you're clearly missing the mark. And I started to pay more attention when I heard John Cena say that, bro. And guess what? I agree. Nobody gives this man the credit he deserves for being an outstanding worker from the perspective of he sells, bro. I mean, he freaking sells his ass off. Go back and look at the sell when Drew McIntyre hit him with the boot at the Royal Rumble and he went over the top. I mean, he sold that shit better than anybody. So, for people who want to criticize Brock for not being there all the time, I will take that. But if you're telling me that his matches aren't exciting when they start, I think you're a liar. And I challenge you to call in and dispute that with me by dialing 657-383-1521. And by the way, guys, the thumbs up and the hearts, we love those. Please keep hitting that. And if you haven't already hit the share button, please do. Please do that. Jonesy, what else you got for us, man?
I gotta tell you, Renee, while you were going on your spiel with about Brock Lesnar, we got a phone call in. We have a caller, and apparently he is very, very mad because he hasn't been on the podcast since the beginning of the show, and apparently if this is the new host of the Wrestle Talk podcast, Nigel Rabbit.
Well, what are you talking about?
I have no idea why my show's going on without me. This is my bloody show, Renee. You gave it to me weeks ago, and here you are holding court without King.
Wait a minute. Nigel Rabbit, I don't know how you have the money to make these sorts of international phone calls on a regular basis, but let me tell you something. I gave up on the topic. I didn't give up my show. You need to go back and read the fine print, sir.
You first of all, you don't know how to write, let alone write fine print. I've seen your typing skills. They're deplorable. Your reading skills are worse. That's why you ask people to retype. But I didn't come on to complain about the fact that I'm not receiving my Wrestle Talk monies because this is my show. I came to voice some opinion on the WrestleMania 36 because you were looking for dissenting opinions. And
I was.
For what they did?
Yes.
They did all right. It wasn't a terrible show. But I really think it shined in the Boneyard and in the Firefly Funhouse matches. Because, I mean, let's be honest. Everyone, someone had commented that there was a message on the Twitter machine that said that I don't think my parents are watching WrestleMania. You had commented about the NC-17 nature of the audio feed that was going on as you were watching the women's match. And, really, an empty house for WrestleMania. Not really going to give you the spectacle that you need. Now everyone performed admirably, did a wonderful job. Everybody did beautifully. I'm not taking anything away from any of the competitors. I'm not taking anything away from anyone in WWE, but I really feel that WWE really missed the brass ring here because they could have done every single match like some sort of cinematic spectacle, like the Boneyard match, like the Firefly Funhouse match, and could have made this absence of audience at least worthwhile to make this show really unique and really different. Because when are we ever going to see The Undertaker and AJ Styles in something quite as spectacular as all that? We've seen both of them shine. Both of them have been tremendous in-ring competitors. But now you add the spectacle of cinematic behavior, cinematic antics on the screen, And that's what a lot of people that I knew were kind of like, I mean, it's Taker and it's AJ, and that's great and all, but everything going on, and Taker's up there in age, and everyone was worried, and Taker didn't come off looking at all like the old man that AJ Styles was claiming that he was. And AJ Styles looked like he was really waging a psychological and physical war against The Undertaker. I thought it was brilliant. And the Funhouse match. I mean, all right, so no sane human being on the planet would be able to truly comprehend what happened there. But the fact that they went through all of that different cascades with the different eras of John Cena, it was just brilliant. Wonderful cinematic storytelling. They could have done this with the entire WrestleMania.
Whoa. I'm not going to let you get away with this one, Nigel, because I need some answers. So, A,
All right.
you believe that in the short time they were given, they could have created something this special with every single match? The Undertaker AJ Styles match,
Absolutely.
according to sources, took a full day of filming. Just filming. I imagine I imagine that being someone that edits video, not for a living, but I do it quite a bit, that must have taken a full day of editing. Number two, would it have not taken away from the special nature of the two matches that were done that way if you would have done everything that way? It would have taken away from it.
I don't think
Two
so.
of these matches, one per
No, I don't
night,
think so.
is... Listen, I love ladder matches, but do I want every match to be a ladder match? Hell to the no. So the idea of every single match
No,
being
but we
done this
accept the
way...
pay-per-view that the tables, ladders, and chairs match.
Yeah, but even then, not every match is a TLC match. My point is that if you do it for every match, does it not take away from the element of being special because you are doing it with every single match?
I think in the case of something like WrestleMania, the fans would accept that as something, accept it as kind of rote. Let me ask you this. The original Survivor Series, did the Survivor Series 5-on-5 or 4-on-4 matches, did they diminish in how special, how incredible the teaming up of talents that you never expected to see team together? Did that dilute in any way, shape, or form? Because the whole pay-per-view used to be those 5-on-5, 4-on-4 tag matches? No, it didn't. For one pay-per-view, because we have got this
But Nigel,
worldwide pandemic, this worldwide
Nigel,
calamity going on, and you make it special to excuse the fact that you don't have an audience, when that is, and ask any professional wrestler, that is 90% of the energy. God bless the talent in WWE and the talent in AEW for being able to put on the Raws and the SmackDowns and the Dynamite and all of the other shows, the NXT shows. God bless them for being able to put the same amount of energy that they have in a full house to empty arenas, because that's difficult. That's marks of true professionals, and every single one of those persons is a true professional. But the loss of the crowd is a loss of energy, and that energy loss is not something we want at WrestleMania.
well, you know what? Well, we both got strong opinions, but you know who we haven't heard from? Nightmare Jones, I know you're sitting back chomping at the bit with your opinion. What are your thoughts on this? Are you with me or are you with Nigel? Pick a side!
I mean, unfortunately, I kind of have to stand with Renee in this one, because from what I've been hearing, it took them 8 hours just to do the Undertaker match. So if it took that long just to do one match, I can only imagine how long it would have taken them to do every single match that way. It would have taken them forever, and then the editing that would have been involved. So I kind of, unfortunately, I don't I don't like to agree with I don't like to disagree with Nigel, but at this point, I kind of got to agree with the Night Owl.
And it's all right that both of you are wrong. I don't have to keep you
The man said, it's all right if both of you are wrong. All right, guys, my Facebook Live fam, been having audio issues pretty much all night, so just bear with us. Shit's crazy. This room's about 100 degrees, but we're going to keep it rolling.
You were saying, Nigel?
Nigel, please continue.
I was saying, in the interest of the time taken to film and edit, if WWE had made the decision, or at least had this on the back burner when they were first going, okay, we may have to figure some way of doing WrestleMania without having fans. Then they could have at that time done the whole, all right, so let's do this all cinematically, let's do this all. If they had decided something like this from that point, they'd had more than enough time to put together all of the matches in the card.
But Nigel, 18 matches? 18 matches the same way? That's a little crazy, bro. That's asking a little much if you ask me.
I mean, wasn't that just about every single week on Lucha Underground? I mean, granted, not every single match, but I mean that whole cinematic style, that over-the-top production, that quality that you sit there and you just stare at it and go, oh my god.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that, but that was a 1 hour show once a week, and it was seasonal.
It was a 1 hour show once a week that had never done wrestling prior to. I mean, Robert Rodriguez has absolutely zero experience in professional wrestling. So if he was able to put that together, combined with every contact that Vince McMahon has got for things like WWE films and all of the other experience with John Cena, Adam Copeland, The Miz. I mean, do we really want to go down the list of every WWE superstar that's done film? I mean, I hear the argument of time, but I feel that the argument of time not really a valid argument, because when you break it down, it's really just doing more of what WWE has been striving towards ever since they took the F out. I mean, they wanted to be entertainment for how long? This was a perfect opportunity to prove that they deserved to be World Wrestling Entertainment.
And they did, Nigel! They put on a show when there is no other sporting event on television.
But see, you said sporting events. I'm talking about entertainment. They have been wanting to. I mean, the whole argument as to how WWE, decided that they were going to break the kayfabe.
Okay, and they did quite a bit. They did,
predetermined. And they did. But why did Vince McMahon do that? Do you remember?
Well, for the sake of selling stock, I would imagine.
It was long before WWE was a stock-traded company.
Okay.
It was for the purposes of WWE avoiding taxes on sporting events.
Yes.
It's much more expensive to
yes.
have a sporting event than it is an entertainment.
A television show.
So
you're right.
Exactly. So he could have just further cemented his claim that this is entertainment, not sports. Now, if he did it for 2 matches, but if he had done it for the entire show, I mean, come on.
All right, well, Nigel, we got one last. I got one last thing for you because we're getting ready to get into break time here, and here it is.
All right.
You decided, and I think this is something that your fans and your followers have been asking for a long time. I've been very excited. You recently started Story Time with Nigel, and I've been lucky enough to peer in a few times and have enjoyed it tremendously. Why don't you do us a favor and take these 30, 40 seconds. And Jay Hollywood, we got time for you in the second hour, bro, so dial that number. Why don't you go ahead and tell the listeners all about story time with Nigel? Because I think this is something that everybody who's got a bunch of free time on their hands should definitely check out ASAP. And by the way, shout out to our sponsors, Kincaid at the Oak Park Mall. Once the mall opens up, Kincaid will be back. Make sure you tell them that your boys over at the Wrestle Talk podcast sent you. And then also shout out to Rudy Gonzalez, a TWA, awesome former guest, member of the Wrestle Talk family. Thank you for being here, Rudy. Much respect, much love to you. Hope you and your familia are doing A-OK during this COVID-19 pandemic. We love you, Rudy. Thank you for being here. But Nigel, why don't you drop that info on us, brother?
Story time with Nigel actually started as a little bit of a rib from between Bones Hatfield and I. We were talking about different things that we need to be doing, to keep people occupied in the wrestling business. And he was suggesting that folks do things like clinics, workout regimens and that sort of thing. I'm not an athlete per se, so my response to that was fairly sarcastic. Nigel could do how to insult your friends and loved ones. That'd be a great thing. Everybody be involved in that. And someone made a comment about you should try reading stories. I started laughing about it, and then I thought about it and said, there's some lovely, lovely children's books that I grew up with that most people, especially most Americans, have no idea about. And that's what prompted me to start reading for about 30 minutes a night, give or take, a series of books from an author named Graham Oakley. And the books were The Church Mice, and they talked about a mouse named Arthur and how he had gotten a series of mice in the fictional British town of Wortlethorpe to move into the vestry with him and help the parish with little cleanly things, cleaning up, polishing the brasses and such. The story's all about their adventures. And I really started doing it more because I realized that doing this can really help, especially young ones, relax in the midst of all of this horrible COVID-19 and all this terrible business of being locked down and quarantined. And I thought it would be helpful. And I've gotten some very lovely responses from people in regards to it. And I've been enjoying it. Even took the opportunity to track down some books that I hadn't had as a child. Some of the books that by the time the author had written them and released them, I had kind of aged out. When you get to that age as a young child where you think you're too old for the things you enjoyed as a young child, that age. And it's been a real wonderful experience and a real blessing. We do it 8 o'clock every night, Central Time. As a matter of fact, I need to go. I'm running late.
All right, guys. Well, Nigel, thank you so much again. That's Nigel Rabbit, Story Time with Nigel. Make sure you give him a like. Make sure you check him out right after the Wrestle Talk podcast. We'll be done here in about an hour and 15 minutes. Make sure you guys go over there and show him some love. Nigel, thank you so much for joining us, man. We will catch you down the road, brother.
Thank you, my friend. Cheers. You guys have a great night.
Grace and peace, brother. Adios.
Always a great time when Nigel Rabbit calls you. I think that one day for the Wrestle Talk podcast, we need to have Rick Maverick call in, Nigel Rabbit call in, Oscar Gallagher call in, and the Volatile Curtis Brown. How great of a podcast would that be? Joe
Lance, you're such a suck-up. It almost makes my stomach hurt how much of a kiss-ass you are. But you know what? To each his own, and I don't want to be overly judgmental when people have bad taste. It is what it is. Well, guess what, guys? That brings us to the end of the first hour of the Wrestle Talk podcast. We're coming back, hopefully with Jay Hollywood. Let's see if he'll call in. I would love to hear from Jay Hollywood. He's got a lot of great stuff going on. We're going to be back with the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion. Definitely want to hear from some of the members of the FWWC. And then, in about 30 to 35 minutes, NWL, EPPW, I could keep going down the list. I mean, this guy has been all over the country, trained by Big John Green, Crazy Eric Shea. C.E.O. is a man that's been in the business for over 10 years now, and he'll be joining us in about 35 minutes. Also, make sure you guys are showing us love over at the Wrestle Talk Podcast YouTube channel. Just uploaded a new, or getting ready to upload a little bit later tonight, a brand new hype promo package that was provided to us by the members of the FWWC, done by my homie Vinny, member of La Familia, El Diablo. You guys might know him by that name. Make sure you guys check it out later tonight. We're going to upload that to the Wrestle Talk Podcast YouTube channel on the FWWC playlist. That's the Fantasy Wrestling playlist. But we'll be back in 2 minutes and 20 seconds with hour 2 of episode 292 of the Wrestle Talk Podcast with Joe and Renee. We'll catch you guys in a few minutes. Turn it up, baby. Let's go.
There's one thing I've always done, is that I've always remained to stay who I am. I am DVD, and I represent the entity from time. I am DVD, and I represent the entity from time. Roll up, this is something you can definitely smoke to. In my pants, hope I did nothing to provoke you. A northern cat going down her daisy tubes, rolling downtown with a really crazy crew. One of a kind, one of a dime, living a hell of a life. Clear move, system mind, copycats will eventually die. Gotta hold composure, I'm not looking for exposure. I'm just trying to move this notion forward. Keep exploring, I know you notice most of these rappers are boring. Got me snorting, taking chances, you know I ain't for it. That's why they feel me when I hit the booth and start reporting. They're looking nervous, looking like the real couldn't afford it. I'm on it bill for my homies doing here. Happy God was the original reason they had to disappear. Life works in mysterious ways. I'm just happy to be here, still doing my thing. I am DVD, and I'm representing the entity from time. I am DVD, and I represent the entity from time. Burning slow up on the end, rising towards another level. Wood pushing, no pills, gaze scum, no Geppetto. A healer and a feeler, feeling like Hercules. Murking these, we can see that ain't nothing to me. I take personal time to spend my life on these lines. Don't give a fuck if you like it or not. Word is bond. When I grab the mic and set it, rocket to the early moan. What we on? Well, it's nothing but that pine hope. You don't even need to worry about another thing. Cause opportunities are endless that I'm known to bring. A king ran my way, but it's never kissed a ring. Respect and love, and we made it more than just a dream. Doubt me all you want to, but at least you know I'm right. Buzzing around the high, made this type of life I'm living like. So, catch me.
Yo, what up? Night out. Nightmare Jones. What up, Wrestle Talk fam? Do it for y'all. Check me out. Kick in the door, waving the 4-4. Even them haters can't hate us no more. To unlock your door, cause we got some more. Every Wednesday we here, keeping it raw. Night out, Nightmare Jones and all the best guests. Like a double barrel pointed right at your chest. WrestleTalkPodcast.com. Smashing and killing it like the night of the prom.
We are back, amigos, for hour number 2 of the Wrestle Talk Podcast with Joe and Renee. We are going to get into the FWWC segment here in just a matter of moments. But allow me to tip my cap to all the members of the FWWC. Because you know what? During this time where there is really nothing going on, the Fantasy Wrestling Group has kept us alive and well during the quarantine. And I am so grateful for our general managers, all of our champions, all of our competitors, for everything that you guys have done to make the group special. Now, I do have Jay Hollywood in the bullpen, and I want to talk to him. But before we get to Jay Hollywood, there's a man who was on a little bit earlier, and I know he wants to come back on and drop his 2 cents real quick. So let's go ahead and jump to him. Then we'll jump to Hardcore Sis. And if we don't have any other callers for the FWWC, it's all good, because I'm anxious to talk to my boy Jay Hollywood anyway. But for those of you that are wanting to come on and conversate, you wanted to come on to conversate, whether it be fantasy wrestling, pro wrestling, or anything in between, the number is 657-383-1521. That said, Tank Westbrook, welcome back to the Wrestle Talk Podcast with Joe and Renee, episode 292. What's up, brother?
How you doing, Night Owl? How you doing, Night Owl?
I'm good. Listen, just big favor. It's hot as balls in here. I got a fan going. This light is all in my eye. Goddamn, this Hollywood lights are killing me, bro. This LED is all in my face. So just speak up, brother. Do me that favor, and we're going to be A-OK.
A-OK, I can do that.
All right. What's on your mind, Tank Westbrook?
So, as of lately, I've noticed hardcore.
All right, we're gonna have to check the guys. We're gonna have to check the audio on Tank. Tank, I don't know if you heard me, bro. I don't know if your audio's good, but I really, really, really need you to speak up. If you got us on speakerphone, take that shit off. If you got us on the headphones, take that shit off. Get us the very best audio, because people want to hear what you have to say, but you got to be louder. So I don't know. Go ahead and make that adjustment real quick, and we're gonna go ahead and bring you on right now. All right, Tank, let's try this again, man. We just want to make sure we can hear you, brother. What's up?
Can you hear me better?
Oh, much better. Just speak up.
That's good. I can always voice my opinion really loud. I don't have a problem voicing my voice.
Go ahead, brother. What do you got for us?
Have you been noticing somebody stealing my M&Ms around here? You know, this person who has to put her little Oompa Loompa fingers where they don't belong.
All right.
That's okay. She can steal my M&Ms. Like I said, she's saving me on my diabetes and my sugar and my blood pressure. That's all fine and dandy. But here's the thing.
What do you got?
She needs to keep her mouth. She needs to keep her mouth starts. Next time she wants to run her mouth, I don't mind getting back into that ring. I can take off my suit and she and I can set up.
Woo! Well, speaking of which, and I'm glad you have those thoughts, Tank. We're gonna give you a chance to rebuttal. And here's someone I know I don't have to ask to speak up, ladies and gentlemen. The general manager of the Inferno brand in the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion, the one and only Hardcore Sis. Hardcore Sis, I know you're ready to fire some shots. So why don't you go ahead and grab the mic?
I sure will, Mr. Tank Westbrook, or as I like to call you, Papa Smurf, the GM of the Smurf Village. As far as you and me stepping in the ring, son, I've had you a few times in the ring and I've beat you quite a few times. So stepping in the ring with you does not scare me at all.
Whoa, wait a minute. Tank Westbrook.
All I can say.
Tank, no, wait a minute. It's Sis. You can't just move on from that. Tank, Hardcore Sis says you can say everything you want, but if you guys have gone toe-to-toe in the ring, she says she's got your number. What is your rebuttal?
She's all talk. Yeah, she might have gotten some victories over me. I've gotten some victories over her. No, a victory is nothing but a pin or a win. You know what? It doesn't really matter. You're still talking. I can still knock your mouth out of you.
Whoa. All right. Well, Hardcore Sis, you heard what Tank had to say. He clearly is not intimidated by you. But this isn't about you guys. This is about your brands. So I'm going to let Tank finish. I'm going to let him go last. But Sis, what message do you want to deliver to your brand, to your opponents, or to the FWWC universe? What do you got for us?
Okay, Tank. If we were to step in the ring, the score would be just like the brand battle score is this week. Hardcore Sis will come out ahead. And let me just say to my Inferno brand, notice, fellas, we got the points this week. We're on the top. And thank you to my Inferno brand, because you fellas make me look so good. And I love each and every one of you for it.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, that is the kind of fire that you can expect from the world's premier fantasy wrestling promotion. And if you're a real pro wrestling fan and you think you know better than the rest and you can make picks and you have personality and character, and maybe you're thinking about going into the professional wrestling business for real as a manager or even as an in-ring competitor, man, what better place to work on your promos than in the Fantasy Wrestling Worldwide chapter? Tank, please speak up, bro. We're still having some audio issues with you. Okay, but we want to let you go ahead and close out your piece of this with any responses or thoughts either towards Hardcore Sis or anybody else in the FWWC, bro. What do you got?
Oh, she might have won the first week of the brand battle. Yes, that's fine and dandy, but that's okay. If you saw on Universe Mania 6, my brand, the Infinite brand, the Forever brand, we still have the very top title. We still have the Warriors Hard Championship.
Very true.
And you know what? My brand has my back.
Wow, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Tank basically saying you may have gotten the first laugh, but you definitely do not have the last laugh. Well, listen, guys, thank you, Tank. Thank you, Hardcore Sis. I know you guys are going to hang on the line to hear what some of the other superstars have to say. But you know what? We're going to bring him in for just a quick snippet as we continue through the FWWC segment and get his thoughts of this fire, this heat that's been going on, not only in the FWWC, but in WrestleMania. And I know it's going to be hard for him because he's a long-winded cat, just like me. But we got to bring in the man himself. Intern Timmy, you got any music for Jay Hollywood? I think Jay Hollywood... Oh. Why?
Renee, my good buddy, what's going on? I'm sorry to interrupt you again. But,
bro, I was introducing Jay Hollywood. First of all, how do you even get intro music? This is my show, and I barely get intro music. How dare you have better intro music than me?
Well, because I'm better than you, obviously.
In what
That's
sense?
Right. I mean, Jay Hollywood is legit. I mean, I'm not hating on Jay Hollywood, but...
Jay Hollywood is legit. That's the understatement of the century. How dare you?
I'm sorry, did I press a button?
Yes, you pushed the button. You pushed my button! Like you do every week, Mayhem.
Oh, come on. Come on, Renee. You know why I'm calling tonight. I'm calling because...
Why? Because you left the chat? Because you left the locker room like a baby? That's why you called the chat? You called to explain yourself?
Oh, no, I don't have to explain what I do. I do things for a reason. And I know you're going to revel in the fact that I lost my United States Championship yesterday to man.
Wait.
Congratulations, slow clap for him.
You were U.S. champ? I'm
here.
sorry, I hardly noticed.
Oh, come on, Renee. Don't make me have to get on the show and take over.
Stop calling me by my government name. Stop calling me by my government name. It's the Night Owl. Night with a K. Get it right, Mayhem.
Night Owl, listen. I'm calling to remind Tank Westbrook the reason why he's in second place and the reason why Hillsdale is in second place. Because the Inferno brand, the best brand in the FWWC, clearly has the lead and is going to keep the lead. And I don't know about you, Night Owl, and I know you're kind of frustrated because, once again, I'm on the winning team and that just burns you inside.
No, dude, I'm frustrated because you interrupt my show every goddamn week. That's why I'm frustrated.
Then maybe you should do something about it. Oh, what's the matter? I forgot. You can't, because you know I'll go tell Master.
You freaking tattletale. Well, anyway, we got more important people to talk to like Jay Hollywood, so why don't you go ahead and spew your propaganda once and for all and leave us all the hell alone.
All right, I'll make it quick. All right, regardless of the fact that I lost my United States Championship on Monday, there's somebody else I have an eye on. So be prepared, because I'm about to make a shocking announcement tomorrow. So at WWC, be prepared for some big-time news from the one, the only, one of the greatest ever, Marcus Mayhem.
Okay, so he calls in, disrespects me, and doesn't even have the courtesy of dropping the news here. Basically, he took up 6-8 minutes of our time to say, stay tuned. Something awesome is going to happen sometime, somewhere. Typical freaking La Familia. Jeez freaking Louise. Well, you know what? There is at least one individual in La Familia who I happen to have some respect for. He is the #1 Canadian. That's right, folks. There's a reason that they call him Mr. #1. Boom, baby. The man just north of the good old US of A. The one, the only, ladies and gentlemen. The Canadian. The heel effing deal. What's up, heel deal? What's on your mind before we throw to Jay Hollywood here tonight?
Well, Night Owl, heel deal saw the score update. He saw Inferno with the big 3. He saw Rise and Infinite with the 2. And you know what? Heel deal ain't sweating it. He hears his brother calling into the show saying, stay tuned, stay tuned. Heel deal, he ain't gonna do it like that. Heel deal calls in, it's always about 2 things. The ratings going up and business, baby. So the heel deal has news here tonight. And he says this, heel deal says this, the way Rise is gonna counter is starting this Friday. See, she drafted individuals, great individuals. I drafted soldiers that are going to act as one. I have an army, and I trust my army. So this Friday begins the Rise Superstars making the matches, putting in their hands utmost confidence. And this Friday, the Friday Night Rise card is going to be booked by El Diablo. And then it's going to go from there. Because my soldiers are going to lead us to the top and lead Rise to the promised land, baby.
Boom, baby. Boom. Huge cosign coming from the one and only heel deal. Well, heel deal, while we still have you on the line, I'm going to bring on Nightmare Jones for just a quick moment because I think that there's been some unresolved heat, and I want to see if you can provide the answer. I know we talked about it in the group, but we haven't talked about it here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. So, here is the question for you, my friend. Nightmare Jones, are you still upset that neither Hardcore Sis or the heel deal, both fellow members of La Familia Worldwide, did not pick you up when it came to the FWWC Brand Battle Year 3 draft? How do you feel now, a couple of weeks into the Brand Battle, Nightmare Jones?
I mean, you know what, right now, at first I was a little bit upset about it. I will admit, your boy Nightmare Jones was a little bit upset about it. But you know what? I realized something. What I realized is that the Infinite brand needed Nightmare Jones. See, Hardcore Sis and Heel Deal, they did Tank a favor by allowing Tank to pick up Nightmare Jones in the brand battle, because you can't have all La Familia in one brand. We need the La Familia in every single brand, and that's exactly what they did. See, they allowed Tank to pick up Nightmare Jones just so that La Familia could take over the Infinite brand, the Rise brand.
I knew it.
And the Inferno brand.
I knew it.
I
freaking knew it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is why, and I might add, because of the fact that Nightmare Jones got drafted into the Infinite brand, Nightmare Jones found a new home and is now part of the Hefty Boys.
The Hefty Boy Trio. Well, it doesn't surprise me. Heel Deal, I want to get your final thoughts here before we go to Jay Hollywood, and then we're going to move on to C.E.O. Was this all a part of the plan from the very beginning? Because it sounds and smells like La Familia shenanigans from start to finish. Can you confirm or deny?
Boom, baby!
Absolutely embarrassing. Wow, you know what? And I love doing the FWWC segment, but every week it seems like we get more La Familia representation and less from everybody else, and that to me is a sad, sad state of affairs. I mean, just honestly, it really, really is. Well, all that said, folks, we want to thank you, members of the FWWC, for joining us. All 3 general managers on the same show, and if you can't get enough of the FWWC, it's okay. It's okay, because this Friday, hosted by the head admin himself, DeJuan Mills, the FWWC Tonight, available to you guys absolutely free over at WrestleTalkPodcast.com. We start right after SmackDown, and we go about an hour, hour and a half, talking all things Fantasy Wrestling Worldwide Chapter. Thank you, everybody, for contributing, and we hope that you guys are tuning into the FWWC Tonight every week. And we're grateful that you guys participate in the FWWC segment every single week right here on the Wrestle Talk Podcast. Well, you know what, guys? We've promised it, we've teased it, and we've talked about it. For the next 10 or 15 minutes, before we get to C.E.O., we're going to talk to one of the sponsors of the Wrestle Talk Podcast. I'm talking about the lead man in charge over at the Conspiracy Farm. Those guys are killing it, by the way. The ratings continue to go through the roof as the fake news media continues to find themselves banished from most people's lives. People are looking for an alternative source of news, an unbiased news source, and there's no question in my mind that the Conspiracy Farm is delivering. Me speaking to you continues to deliver, and I'm anxious for the return of Everything Combat. Because once the action gets back into the squared circle, I know those guys will be firing off full cylinder. No question about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, and you know what, Jonesy? I think I got the music for this one because I think this guy will appreciate this song. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show for the first time in quite a while, the one, the only, Jay Hollywood! Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Woo! Jay Hollywood, baby, welcome back to the show. What is on your mind tonight, my friend? I know you've got a WrestleMania hangover the way that the rest of us do, but I want to hear straight from the horse's mouth, man. What is up?
Orale, ¿qué pasa, papá? How we doing?
¿Qué pasó, Holmes? ¿Qué pasa, calabaza?
Yeah, de nada, way.
Oh, another way.
Hey.
What up?
I'm chilling, man, sipping on a little cold Corona while not getting Corona, doing what we do.
The Roni with no Roni.
You know?
All right, so Jay Hollywood, first question, bro. And Jonesy, I know you're back with us, brother. Bro, what the hell were you doing butt-ass naked in the shower the other day? I need answers. Bro.
Hey, I just looked up and I saw this camera in my face, dude. I'm sitting here trying to shave my head with my new Skull Shaver Pit Bull, the silver Pit Bull from our new sponsor, SkullShaver.com/farm, baby. So I was just getting that baby's bottom smooth shave. And, just did a little quick commercial for the shower, just let people know you can shave dry, you can shave wet, you can do it how you want it. Those things are the bomb.
No doubt. And just real quick, intern Timmy, why don't we check on Jay Hollywood's audio? I don't know if he's got us on the headphones or whatever, but I hear some distortion. Jonesy, as we get that sorted out, I know he can still hear you. What questions do you have right off the bat for Jay Hollywood as we wait? We're about 10 minutes away from NWL/EPPW's very own C.E.O., a man that's been in the business for well over 10 years. He's got a lot of knowledge to share with the members of the Wrestle Talk podcast, especially, considering the fact that he's kind of in the epicenter of the pro wrestling world over on the East Coast, on the Eastern Panhandle. We're going to get C.E.O. here in just a minute. But, Jonesy, what questions do you have for Jay Hollywood tonight?
Oh, man, I was just to be, what did he think about a WrestleMania? And did he think that they pulled it off with what they had, and it couldn't have been better? And if so, what could have made it better?
J. Hollywood, what do you got?
Can you hear me?
Oh, loud and clear, baby. I love it. Good job, intern Timmy. What do you got?
Yeah, it was interesting, man. I was worried how it was going to play out without a crowd, because we know part of what the wrestlers do is feed off the audience. But they put on a hell of a show, despite the fact that there was no audience, man. The Charlotte Flair match, the AJ Styles Undertaker match. I mean, like all of us, man, we're having to adapt, and I think they did a very good job adapting in a very unfavorable situation.
Well, Jonesy, I think that's a great answer, but J. Hollywood, I'm going to have you expand upon that. I think they did very, very well in a very difficult situation, but I'm going to ask you the same thing that I asked the rest of the Wrestle Talk family. Fantasy booking-wise, what did you not like, and what would you have done differently?
Man, I mean, as honest, man, to keep it as 100 as I can, I haven't been as faithful to the brand as I normally am. Obviously, leading up to WrestleMania and being WrestleMania, you got to keep it out. You know what I mean? It is WrestleMania.
Right.
But I'm just, man, I mean, not to escape the question, but I've been so hammered and so busy with everything combat, man. It's just the conspiracy farm. It's just taking up so much time. But honestly, man, it was a good release to watch Mania. It was good to see Taker back in there. Like, again, I'm out of the loop, man. I'm asking some of my boys, man, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Some of these cats I don't even know anymore, man. But, your tried and true players, Charlotte, AJ, Daniel Bryan, they put on a hell of a show, man. I bet, some of them, like, who's the King guy? Baron Corbin?
Yeah, I love Baron Corbin. Everybody else hates him. So, he's doing his thing, that's for sure.
Yeah. All of them are doing this thing, and it's cool, man. Like, the brand isn't quite, and I sound like an old guy saying this, it's not quite the same as it used to be, but they're still killing it, man. The WWE is and will always be the premier brand of professional wrestling. Still something else comes along.
No doubt about it. Well, Jay Hollywood, here's my follow-up question to you, as we're just about 6 or 8 minutes away from hearing from the CEO. So, where do we go from here, Jay Hollywood? I know that even though you don't watch every show, you keep up on maybe the potential happenings of professional wrestling, particularly in your area. What do you think the timeline is before things start getting somewhat back to normal? And I know this a lot of people are coining the phrase new normal. But when can we expect, from your perspective, a guy who covers government conspiracy better than anybody on the planet, in my opinion, when do you suspect that we can get to a point where fans are going to be allowed back into stadiums, arenas, VFWs, high school gymnasiums to enjoy the sport that they know and love, and that is professional wrestling, man? Can you give us a little bit of hope, Jay Hollywood?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously, each state is going through this differently. So, a given state's ability to get back to quote-unquote normal is going to be different in Missouri than it is in New York or Washington or some of these places that are harder hit. I'm telling you, man, they're canceling. They canceled the Democratic National Convention. They canceled a lot of sports, in the summer. I think it's gonna be, unfortunately, man. I think it's gonna be a hot minute. They canceled the Olympics, the Summer Olympics. And they keep drawing this out. So I do believe it is going to be a hot minute when you listen to cats like, I forget the little short guy, Trump's disease guy, but he's essentially saying until we get to the point where there's no deaths and no new cases, we can't get back to normal. And you got Bill Gates on the CBS Morning Show the other day saying, unless we mass vaccinate across the country, we can't get back to normal, can't get back to public gatherings. So I wish I had a great answer, man. I wish it was tomorrow, man. I'm looking to have this to end and get back to normal as well.
Oh, my gosh. And
unfortunately,
Jay Hollywood, and at the risk of taking this show completely off the rails, here's what I want to ask you. Because, listen, bro, we need to do a podcast together where we don't talk wrestling, where we talk about everything else, because you're a very insightful guy.
Right, hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's my question to you. I know you're always very skeptical and you hardly ever take things at face value. So here's my question to you. In Jay Hollywood's mind, what is the end game here? Because no one's disputing the legitimacy of COVID-19, but people are taking advantage of the situation, which is depriving us wrestling fans of enjoying what we love to enjoy. So from a conspiracy theorist standpoint, what is the end game here? Or do we all need to be mass vaccinated? Is there going to be the option of deferring? Can we defer that sort of thing? And again, I'm asking you to kind of go out on a limb here and potentially give. Okay, let's focus on the primary source of Wrestle Talk podcast fandom, which is Kansas, Missouri, and the Eastern Panhandle. Those are our three hotbeds for Wrestle Talk podcast supporters. So from your perspective, if you had to put a date on it, how soon will the people in those areas, okay, and I know Eastern Panhandle includes New York, let's exclude New York, let's exclude New Jersey, how soon can fans expect to be able to return to their local independent pro wrestling promotion? The SICWs of the world, the EPPWs of the world, and the KCXWs of the world.
I think, like I said, I think those will be back sooner than later. It's just, hopeful thinking, wishful thinking, but I think just because even though we are dealing with it here quite a bit, it's not quite the same as other cities. And what you said a minute ago, people aren't doubting the legitimacy of COVID-19. They are. A lot of people very much so are, and I'm not going to get into it. That's not this kind of show, but there's a lot of fuckery afoot as far as COVID-19. I'm not saying it's not real. Of course it's real, but there's just a lot more to it. And as far as in-game, oh man, where do you want to start? I mean, I think long-term, I suggest everybody look up Agenda 21. That's a good place to start because we're looking at a social, a political, and economic reset. The new normal will be something that's nothing compared to what we're used to. Look at 9/11. We all talk about, man, remember life before 9/11? That's how we're going to be proceeding, man. Remember life before Corona? Because it won't necessarily go back to where it was, but, it will be a little bit different. But they're utilizing, like you said, this, and COVID-19 is being used as cover for a much larger, for lack of a better term, reset, takeover. I mean, you see all the civil liberties we gave up after 9/11. That's going to be nothing compared to what, yeah. Without getting too deep into it, the number of people are dying, but it's not like Spanish flu or H1N1.
Right.
And they're telling us we can't go make a living.
We
can't go make a living.
Well, Jay Hollywood, here's what I want to ask you, and this will be my final question because CEO is in the bullpen, ready to come on and drop game after being in the business for a little bit over 10 years. He's definitely learned a lot, and I know you're going to be excited to hear from him as well. So let's throw this back into the pro wrestling arena, okay? And here's how I'm going to phrase this question. Is there a baby face and a heel in this pandemic? Is there a white hat and is there a dragon? Is there a clearly defined good guy and bad guy with what we're dealing with in the circumstances that we're dealing with currently, at least here in the States? What are your thoughts?
Not a clearly designated good white hat or bad hat. It's kind of like how cops do when they're trying to interrogate somebody. They do the good cop, bad cop. They're pretending to do the good cop, bad cop to lull the suspect into a sense of kind of complacency and let their guard down. To use a professional wrestling term, brother, and whoever's listening, this is a major work. That's not to say people aren't dying and people aren't being affected by this, but if you think all of this is just about COVID-19, you are missing a very much the larger picture. And I get it. Not everybody stews on the same stuff I do. A lot of when you see historical patterns, a lot of this stuff doesn't seem, you can't, when you kind of understand the patterns of history, you put these puzzle pieces together as opposed to seeing these as separate instances. Again, go back to Agenda 21 and see what that is. Look up the smart grid. Look up the Internet of Things. They're going to get rid of cash. I mean, there's a lot going on that's creating this reset. And again, in-game, look at China. China is the beta test of where we're going. The removal of cash, social credit, in a technocracy, an internet which tracks everything you do. We're already almost there. But something like this is going to create the environment where they bring in all kinds of stuff that, you know, we won't even recognize the world we came from.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Jay Hollywood, before we let you go, man, thank you for being here as we transition into our second feature interview of the evening with CEO. Just real quick, I know your podcast with the UFC Hall of Famer Pat Milicic is absolutely on fire. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys have going on and how people can follow you on social media?
Man, we are just slaying it right now. Last week, as we are working from home, grinding out, pumping out content.
By the way, didn't y'all just talk to Survivor Man? Didn't you guys not just talk to the Survivor Man?
Yeah, that's the third time he's been on, man. He's great. He's
That's
a great
sick.
Guy.
That's sick.
But yeah, we've just been grinding it, dude, and to the point where we are now, well, the rankings are very fluid, but in the news category, our show is up in the upper 100s on iTunes, beating Wolf Blitzer, Laura Ingraham, you know, established radio and TV personalities, and we're just doing this from our offices, dude. You know what I mean? It's the message that's getting out there, not so much the fact that we're not in a cool studio. What's resonating with people is the information that we're imparting. So the conspiracyfarm.com, you can check us out. You know, obviously we can't stop, won't stop at this point. We got more stuff popping off. And yeah, dude, anytime you want to link up, do a show and talk about something other than wrestling, or even wrestling, you know, I'd love to have you, or you and Nightmare.
No doubt, that would be super dope. And any thoughts to the pro wrestling community out there? Any words of encouragement before you go, Jay Hollywood?
Man, I know we're all missing it, dude. We're like you were saying, man, we all wish we could get back to doing what we love and going to see wrestling and all of that. You know, it's very, very heady times, dude. So if you can, just, you know, keep the faith, stay focused, stay healthy. This too shall end, because it cannot rain all the time, ladies and gentlemen.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Jay Hollywood. Look him up. His name is Jeffrey Wilson on social media. Or just go to the conspiracyfarm.com for more information on Pat Milicic and the one and only Jay Hollywood, which, if I'm not mistaken, Joe, I think we bestowed that nickname on Jay Hollywood. So I'm guessing we're entitled to about 10 or 15% of any gross income. But anyway, we'll discuss that off the air. Say goodnight to Jay Hollywood, Jonesy.
Thanks, Jay Hollywood. Thanks for calling in, man.
Absolutely love it. Well, Joe, you know what? There's no time to waste, and we are a little bit late for CEO, but you guys know we'll go about 15 minutes over anyway, so you're going to get at least 30 minutes of CEO, and I don't think anybody is better equipped to do a proper introduction than the man who created the Wrestle Talk podcast, the one and only Nightmare Jones. Jonesy, why don't you introduce our next guest?
Oh, my goodness. It would be my absolute honor. So, ladies and gentlemen, this next guest will be a finger on. I've known this gentleman for many, many years, whether I was watching him at Kobe Pro or refereeing his matches in ECW or going to WDWA and watching him wrestle or seeing him wrestle in the NWL. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to bring to you the man, the myth, the legend, C.E.O.
Oh, you're going to let that play, right? You got to let that play. That's so good.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having me on the show tonight.
Oh, it is all honor. And so, you know what's the coolest thing about CEO is, Renee? There was a movie theater just maybe 10, 15 minutes down the road, and every time I go to the movie theater, I see CEO on the big screen every single time. It's absolutely amazing.
What do you?
I try to live the gimmick for you.
What do you mean? What do you mean you see him on the big screen all the time?
For you, that's for sure.
You gotta elaborate. You got to elaborate, bro. What do you mean you see him on the big screen every time?
With his shoe job. He has a shoe shop, and he paid to have an advertisement on the movie for his shoe shop. So every time I say, that's CEO.
That's my homie right there. That's awesome. Well, CEO, it's great to have you. I'm the Night Owl. That's Night with a K. And, of course, you already know my partner in crime, Joe Lance, a.k.a. Nightmare Jones. Jonesy, why don't you take the lead on this interview, man?
Absolutely. So I got to question that I would want to ask is, how did C.E.O. get you for that?
How did it all begin, Joe? Where did it all start from? Well, I guess about 10 years ago, the regular guy was living my life and decided that, I've always loved pro wrestling, loved it since I was a kid growing up, watching the old, TV, update myself here, but the old TBS Superstation, Atlanta, Georgia Wrestling, guys like Rugged Ronnie Garvin, of course, Arn Anderson, the impeccable Nature Boy Ric Flair, all these kind of guys that came up throughout the southern region of Atlanta, Paul Aaron, just all these guys, and just mesmerized, fascinated, loved wrestling. And then getting into it, like I said, with the shoot job, I live the gimmick. I run a business. So being a business, man, being a business owner, being a CEO in real life and in the ring, it just made sense, to kind of do that. That love, that passion was there. Getting a chance to work with so many great performers. And as Joe said, that opportunity saw me first out at Cubby Pro. The great thing there working with Chris Chavez, of course, and other wrestlers there. I mean, what a way to come right into it. Or get broken by it. Anybody who's gotten a chop, from that man or two can remember to this day that he's built like a truck, And the CEO's not a small man. That 6'4", 265 is not a gimmick. That's actually how big I actually am. It's been on. It's been off the ride so far, and excited to see where the road takes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, speaking about Cobra Pro, let's then talk about your time in Cobra Pro. Why don't you tell the fans about your time in Cobra Pro for?
Well, when I was there, I started out, and a lot of folks know that story. Of course, I was training over with Tanaka, working with different guys, and I actually suffered an awful injury very early on. Career, probably about just 6 months into training, and got it's the most basic kind of move you can imagine, just taking that regular clothesline and then having it innocent as that, kind of supinating my back in from that, and actually ripped off part of my ab wall straight off the bone, snapped like a rubber band. I felt that white heat, and this is gnarly and horrible as it sounds. I felt that white heat there. I knew something was really wrong. It took probably a good 6 months just to be able to sit up enough to get up. Literally every night I would go and sleep back in my bed so I didn't have the end table. I'd fall out of bed. I couldn't actually sit up enough to pick myself up. It was that bad of an injury. So as bad as that was, the blessing, I guess, was to it, that it made me learn the other parts of the business, like you do yourself, like the joys of management, the joys of refereeing, the chance to kind of work behind, kind of the scenes that way, and not being a wrestler to begin with the career because of that injury. So that's sort of how that began, but I just never, most folks said you should quit, you should give that up. Obviously, you can't do that. So I couldn't. Once you get the bug and people there, the business, you got it in here. It's part of your life. It's part of who you are. And you can't imagine your life without wrestling, which is why right now in particular, it's so hard for so many guys, the fans, the workers, because this is what we do. This really is what motivates us and gets us up. All walks of life, you get in that ring, you're all brothers and sisters in the same, and it's been brutal not being able to have that outlet, that ability to perform.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. I have missed going to the wrestling show. It's absolutely killing me. I guess that my last question before I throw it back to Renee, because I know he has a bunch of questions of. With you working in Cobra Pro, you also got the opportunity to share a locker room with somebody that a lot of people know now on a big time basis, and that is one Nigel Rabbit. Can you tell us about your experiences with Nigel Rabbit?
Oh, with Nyla. Well, I did have a privilege to work with her. Obviously, don't know her that way. She's great. She's real. She's down to earth. She's worked impeccably, diligently throughout all the feds went over to Japan and that transition, and then over the course of AEW. She certainly worked hard out and deserves it that way. I know she gets a lot of flack. Based on the transgendered issue, they give her a lot of grief for that. But she's a worker, and she doesn't deserve that. She is an impeccable worker. She's obviously a chance to work in the ring with her. I know I had a story where I had to work for a show with her, and it was probably about 6-7 years ago. And it was a kind of a rumble gauntlet ladder match, that was thing. But in the situation from it, I didn't feel really comfortable going and trying to take shortcuts for her, because to me, with the crowd and everything at that point, and the present worked out his face, to me, she's a lady. So I wasn't going to disrespect her and treat her in that kind of fashion. And I know she kind of crossed me, I think, by not trying to beat her up and still pummel her. But I think she understood too, is like, being a dad and having kids, with my kids, watching the show, and from that, and it's probably my thing. I know a lot of people like the intergender matches. I know that's a big thing now. It's not something I'm a big fan of, just myself. For anybody else, that's fine. That's their gimmick. I get the arguments about, how that empowers the female wrestlers that way in the competition, and kind of what that is, and the angles for that, which I appreciate. But just for me personally, I just don't believe in having a man put hands on a lady that way, and I just don't feel that's what I would want to do. And there's been some matches, both the companies I've worked, where they have me booked in matches that were intergender style matches. I just don't do them in for it that way. I guess it's my preference. It's kind of old fashioned. I'm a pretty liberal guy, actually, with respect, but just for that, so there was that story, and from that, of course, the finish that when I didn't do that and hesitated to pummel said Nyla, she did not hesitate to toss me off the ladder onto the concrete floor, which I probably deserved for that.
Dang.
Did you say that? But no, she's great, and she definitely deserves it. She really does. She's worked it. She earned it.
I agree 100%. All right, well, Renee, why don't you come in here with whatever questions that you have, sir?
Well, I will. And C.E.O., thank you so much for joining us. I was tremendously excited to know that you were coming on the show because I think you have this affinity, this passion for professional wrestling that everybody that's a member of the Wrestle Talk family has in common. And I'm sitting here and seeing the legendary Herb Simmons, who is going to be honored at the Cauliflower Alley Club this year. Another event that succumbed to the COVID-19 pandemic. Absolutely unfortunate. And then I think about Covey Pro and the history of the Wrestle Talk podcast, and Covey Pro, in my opinion, are absolutely tied at the hip. Because before yours truly joined the show and basically took over, there used to be a former host, and his name was Rick. And one of the greatest things that he was able to accomplish, and this really had more to do with Joe than him, but together they developed this connection with Covey Pro, and we were around not only during the, I'd say the height of Covey Pro, but also at the very, very end. So let me start there with you. Why has Covey Pro, that name continues to come up, even though they haven't had a show for quite some time? So when you talk about promotions that make an impact, like Metro Pro Wrestling here in Kansas City, SICW over in Southern Illinois, or even Dynamo Pro Wrestling in the great state of Missouri, what made Covey Pro resonate with the fans the way that it did to where today people are still talking about it?
Well, first of all, thank you for so much. I agree with you that it is hand in hand with Covey Pro and this podcast. But really, planning and hard work and kind of the basic things that people take for granted has a lot to do with that kind of success. It has the roots is built on a foundation of that kind of ethic, that kind of work and diligence, and the expectation was that, obviously any situation came up, they're next man up and from that, but it has that sort of tradition, of course, with the wrestling school there where I trained, and the people as they would have come in, it was always the kind of the cream of the crop, the best indie people that you can imagine. And the people that we come in and out of those doors now, they're working AEW, they're working OVW, they've worked WWE, they've worked all these feds, the major feds, and it looked at a place that was legitimate, and they had a good business model. I mean, it makes sense. And they were one of the few products that was on TV. They had a TV program. Kind of an unheard of thing for a very small area, small demographic, to have television coverage on a weekly basis. To have, all the business aspects, having market share, having name recognition, the ability to have, obviously, social media. They had, some great people in the back, a couple in particular. I know my friend Juan, Tony Acevedo, he's there. He certainly was working hard in the back. I mean, he has great experience in television work, so they had really it wasn't all substandard. It was polished, professional camera work, editing, sound, kind of the stuff that you just don't see in the small promotions that people take notice of. They were on things like a Roku before Roku was a thing. They were getting to that pre-Netflix for a generation. So when they have that kind of structure, and just the people that were there, is just committed to being there. Wanted to be there. It was a very old school kind of place. And the training you had there was really the old school Southern style wrestling. Not that you didn't learn how to do, everything. But the focus really is on, and has always been on, that particular promotion. The idea that this is exactly up to the fight. This is what it is. There's, some of the stuff you see today, I think, there's a lot of that. I think why AEW has become so popular, frankly, is because they bring that style of wrestling. It has more believability. Because it is real things that are going on. It's not people that are faking it. People say, that say like wrestling is real, people are fake. It's a very true kind of state.
I like that one.
Real is fake. Has never been in the ring. They've never been in the ring. It's mainstream. Say, oh, it's a trampoline. No, trust me, it's a rusty.
It's not a trampoline.
It's not a trampoline. On plywood. Like, and the amazing thing I was always told, the padding, which is like maybe a half an inch, if even, it's not for us. It's for the wood, to protect the wood from our blood and sweat. So if you think I'm kidding, I'm not. You guys know I'm not kidding. That's exactly what that pad is for. Because wood's expensive, wrestlers are cheap. That's kind of how that goes. But, that's, I think, a lot of the reasons why Timmy Pro worked that way and has some of the you're in there. We take these things seriously. Brothers and sisters is a serious thing. It's not just some made-up notion. It really meant something, to all of us working it. We cared about the product. We still did. It still resonates because of that. And they left before the wheels fell off. I believe it in with that. Because a lot of promotions, WCW in its waning days, the wheels fell off. And Covey left on the high note. I think it was the biggest show they'd ever had. All or nothing. Then they had what? They drew legitimately 600 people, 700 people. Not like chairs, not fake fans, real fans. Packed, more fans than you see at a WWE house show. That's how it was. So it was an honor to be there and a great starting experience for my career.
Wow. Well, thank you for that wonderful insight. And I will say, before we move on, we're very, very happy to hear that our friend, member of the Wrestle Talk family, Dashing Donnie Diablo, is making a recovery. Jonesy, I think you can confirm this. Yeah, he was doing pretty rough there for a little while. And for those of you who are like, what the hell are they talking about? What the hell is Covey Pro? Guys, do yourself a favor. Go to YouTube and just type in Covey Pro. That's Covey. And this is a promotion that just absolutely dominated the Eastern Panhandle for the last 10 years or so. They closed their doors a little bit over a year, almost 2 years ago now. And there's a reason we're still talking about them. Guys like C.E.O, Dashing Donnie Diablo, Crazy Eric Shea made that promotion as successful as it became before they closed their doors. And I know there's a lot of people that listen to this show that are in the professional wrestling business on let's just say on an independent level. So if you're looking to be successful, this is a promotion and these are some of the guys that you can learn from. So I just wanted to say that. Matt, thank you for being here. Paul, thank you for being here. Bud, Susie, thank you for being here. And by the way, I believe we're going to have some callers on the line for you, CEO. So be ready to answer some questions. And much love to Perry, who recognized the song, the Eddie Money song that we played going into this interview. So shout out to Perry Hartman of Painter's Dream Productions. We love you, brother. Thank you for taking care of the website. And thank you for always blessing and praying for us, man. We love you very, very much. Here's my second question for you, CEO. And this is more for the members of the Wrestle Talk family. I know people love name dropping, and a little bit earlier, you talked about Nyla Rose. I know over the last 10 years or so that you've been in the business, you've had the opportunity to share the locker room with some of the who's who of the professional wrestling business. Before we get to a couple of our callers here, I wanted to ask you, who else have you had the opportunity to either work with or share a locker room with or share a car with over the last 10 years that you've been in the professional wrestling business, man? Please do tell, because the members of the Wrestle Talk family love it when the guests name drop. What can you give us, CEO?
Oh, that's amazing folks that come in and out. I mean, obviously folks like Scott Hall.
Scott Hall?
Yeah, of course, Scott Hall, yeah. Of course, him, his son, of course, was out there, who was actually performing. He's like a clone of his dad.
Okay.
Getting a chance, of course, with Taka, obviously, for that too. Mickey James, having her be available and for that, and the bigger names that come to mind that way. Just all sorts of folks in terms of, oh gosh, Iron Sheik, Peter Koloff.
Whoa. Time out.
Come to mind.
Whoa, wait a second there. And intern Timmy, let's work on CEO's audio, because I don't want anybody to miss everything that he's saying. So if he's on speakerphone, let's get him off that or whatever. But what I did hear, and I'm very, very taken aback by this. I don't know why this intel was not passed on to me before the show, but my man said that he's worked with the legendary Iron Sheik, and if we don't get an Iron Sheik story, well, let me just basically make it simple.
Fucking bullshit!
CEO, you shared the locker room with the Iron Sheik and a bunch of other legends, man. Can you give us one badass story about sharing the locker room or working with a legend?
Oh, well, I don't want to get any trouble, because some of these things. So, we'll do that. But I'd say, so I'll protect the innocent that way, out of the other gigs. But it's sort of a bad story for that. I get at least a couple good stories from it. One, gosh, there's a story where we were all, basically, this was out in Philippine, West Virginia, sort of out in Barber County. It's been that Philippine. It is truly the heart of West Virginia. And being out in that area, it's rented out a limousine, and just making our way, and you can imagine, I don't know if they had limousine, I don't think I was from. So there we are, kind of strolling, doing your thing, looking just like, the Four Horsemen, kind of making our way out. But there was actually an event where it was kind of a sad thing. It's very good. It was she was kind of the cheers there. And the pro event actually was great, Mickey James, and she's awesome. And she, again, is as real of a person as you'll ever meet. And not everybody is. I mean, some of them, they can just caricatures and kind of aloof and kind of, don't want to, rub, shoulders with you. I mean, I was in the locker room with Coco Beware, and he is a great guy. I mean, he does all those kind of things. Brutal Bob Evans, great guy. I mean, people that are there for you, they don't put themselves up anything. They're there to kind of pass on to all the next generation. But Mickey's that way too. And there's a scene where actually was there, and somebody, we found out later on, actually went back in the locker room trying to get stuff and actually stole her purse, believe it or not. Stole her stuff. And she was back there and the show. I can't leave because I don't have a way to get home. So literally, we stopped at the gate, like everybody, the whole thing, show stopped. The whole show stopped. Middle of the match stopped. I said, nope, we're going to do this right now. They go through, finally we'll get it back and do all that. Just, crazy kind of thing, and she gets back, on her way that way. But with the Sheik, though, there's no story that doesn't begin or end with quality vegetation. So, I really just ask for it, but You know, it's amazing there's anything left in Colorado, given everything's cheap. But I'll leave it out for that. But great experience, great people.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joe, that's freaking awesome, and I'm a huge fan of Iron Sheik and Mickey James as well, and I appreciate you sharing that with us, CEO. I know that there's like kind of a code amongst the talent that you're only supposed to share certain things, and I think you did a great job of respecting that code while also appeasing the members of the Wrestle Talk family. That said, we've got a couple of callers on the line that either love you or hate you. At this point, it's a flip of a coin. So the first thing that we're going to do is, because we are gentlemen here on the Wrestle Talk podcast, we're going to bring on the lady on hold. Our homegirl, one of the baddest women in fantasy wrestling today, hardcore sis, also known as Susan Lickey, is going to be joining us, and she's got a couple of comments and maybe even a question for CEO. The question is, boss man, are you ready to take a couple of calls?
Sounds good.
Let's do it. All right, Susie, you are live on the Wrestle Talk podcast, episode 292, featuring CEO. What are your thoughts or questions tonight?
I just want to first say, hi, CEO. How you doing, babe?
Hey, Susie, how are you doing? Great to hear from you.
I am doing awesome. And I was so excited to hear you were coming on tonight. You know, hey, when all of this stuff is over, I just want to know, obviously we're hopefully going to see you back in the ring, right?
Absolutely. There's no question for that. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I want to know when you're going to smack Joe around for costing the EPTW title.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Oh, there's that, right? You had to go there, dude. Oh, man. But, well, first of all, I would definitely be back. And folks that don't know, I actually had suffered an injury in July, and doing what wrestlers do, which is usually not the best idea to do, just wrestled with the injury. Working shows, kept doing things. And worked a double in October, back-to-back main events, Friday, Saturday, really starting to get stride, and tore my labor, my right shoulder and bicep, just tore it, and ow, by the way. But that put me out for about no surgery, at least, thank God. So for my buddy Inferno, I know who had surgery, I'm praying for you, brother. I know how horrible this injury is, so I hope you're A-okay. Up at SSW. As far as being fourth, though, I got the medical clearance in February, and then this happened. So I was supposed to be wrestling last month, and nobody is, so I'm not either. But I'll definitely be in there in the ring, and certainly have a lot more to put out there that way. My favorite wrestler is Nigel Rabbit in WrestleMania in his 60s against Shawn Michaels. God, I hope I can make it through. 50, so my kids are old enough to beat me up. So,
you can do it. Well,
I believe.
I cannot wait to see you back in the ring, and I will be sitting ringside, I promise you. So I'm looking forward to your comeback. I really am. And you're not just going to be there when you're 60. ICE knows you're going to be there.
Well, they say, nothing is over until it's over. That's what I hear, right? So new merch and everything will be coming out. So then we'll make sure you get yours first thing, Susan. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. And I just want you to admit for me, because I know my brother's listening, can you please tell him that you like me more than him?
CEO loves everybody equal. I tell you what. I was a bad guy for so many years. And a lot of shortcuts that way. Although I learned as a bad guy a couple things. One is, the real mantra of the bad guy, which is you don't cheat because you have to. You cheat because you want to. That's the primary thing. For everybody listening out there who's a heel wants to be a great heel, keep that in mind. Actually, got that from the wonderful Joshua Lefty, so thank you for that. So I won't take credit for that game from him. But besides that, though, really what's about now is about being great and making other people great around you, and that's really what it should be about. Everybody achieving the best they can, being the strongest link in the chain possible, and trying to raise those people up with you. You can't get anywhere, be bigger by making somebody else smaller. Kind of basic human decency, kind of things that we need to to pretty soon get back to, and hopefully for this kind of world reset the way it is, describing it, Big Holly talked about that earlier, and that's probably true to an extent. So we got to do our part and make it work, and so I definitely love you and your brother that way, and I can't wait to get back in the ring. And I've got a list of people that need a little reckoning, a little action going to happen that way. So stay tuned; it's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome. That's great. And you know what? You just answered my last question, which was any advice that you would give to any of the up-and-comers in the business. But you just answered that. So, it's up.
All right, guys, it looks like I lost connection. Again, these are the consequences of live radio. So thank you to everybody. Just hang tight. We're going to reconnect, and the show will continue.
There are no shows scheduled within the next 24 hours. Thank you for using Block.
Hang tight, everybody. We'll get going again. Hang tight, everybody. Hang tight, guys. We want to finish our interview with CEO. Merge the call, buddy. Put us on a conference call so I can get back on, please. Add me to the Blog Talk call, please. Coming back in just a second, gang. Hang tight. What's up, Joe?
What's up?
Hey, bro.
Right,
you got to do a conference call.
What's that?
You got to do a conference call, bro. Add me to your call.
How do I add you to the call?
Well, you got an iPhone, right?
No, I have a Galaxy phone.
Then you should be able to open up your phone options and add me to the call that you already have going on.
I'm on Skype. That's the same thing.
Oh, dang. So it ain't going to work, bro? There's no other way. I can't call back in.
I mean, I've got you on my phone now. I mean, they'll still be able to hear you.
All right, cool. Well, as long as I can hear, we're good, bro. Let's play it.
All right, sounds good.
Let's do it.
Hold on 1 second.
That was when I first started working at a road together, 9 yards. But actually caught on fire at the backstage of the show. And coming from Discord. Of course, guys that have there's a good friend of mine, was Big John Green, John Boyd, guys right there. Just in the parking lot, you could use them. Yeah. I think, of course, my favorite matches was when I won the WWA Heavyweight Night, at their first Berkeley Mania event there locally when WWA. Big boy, great guy. We beat the tar out of each other. I think I still have some tact my dad from that match. I think I do. Just awesome kind of stuff. But
I'm all that stuff. The next match, though, is what I'm looking forward to, the next opportunity. And there's so many great guys, so many great workers. Just, have those matches with them. You've got, obviously, the Goat. You're out there and there's so many great guys. But, we can make lists, and I'll be happy to take them on. So, if anybody wants some, they know where I am. Happy to come get some as soon as I can.
Well, good to hear. I will, though, maybe my only question I have for you. I do have one state that says, like Joe said, I am the security guard at EPW. If you need more security guards with the EPW, always give me a shout. I'll work for you.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Take care of everybody. Yeah, man. I will. You do. You have to work yourself.
All right. Woo, that was Tank Westbrook. Are you back with us, Renee?
I am, and guys, I've been having technical issues all day, but you know what? We're not going to let that take away from anything, because this has been an absolutely wonderful conversation. And I wanted to jump in with one last question. CEO, you know what the pro wrestling world is going through right now. I, for one, am very grateful that we got a WrestleMania. Do you have any thoughts on the show itself, being a guy who's in the business? And as a matter of fact, you work with some of the folks that are behind putting the shows together. Do you have any thoughts on the show as a whole? And any thoughts for pro wrestling fans right now as we all continue to chomp at the bit waiting for pro wrestling to come back full-fledged?
Well, I think that certainly as a personal involvement, WrestleMania has a decision to have. I see both sides of it. It really is. On the one hand, it's great that they try to have an event and try to make it something that's just, there's so many, we're fans first and foremost. Even the wrestlers there, all wrestlers, I never met a wrestler who's not a wrestling fan.
All right.
And it was not being able to see that have a beat, but, I've been to WrestleMania. I had the privilege of going to WrestleMania in New Orleans to watch Charlotte Flair beat Asuka in her 2-year reign, to see that, and all the great matches there. Running around the Kurt Angle against Triple H and Stephanie was actually really good.
Wow.
That event, that atmosphere, being there, and then having it be in an empty arena, it's hard, because it's just, and that's the other side. It feels like so many opportunities lost from that. There has been innovation, obviously with the other matches that we're seeing in May. We're staging an Undertaker, but the fans, we do this for the fans. We don't do this for ourselves, and without the fans, it can't be the same, because they, in many ways, the fans are the show. They're the show. We're there performing and doing whatnot, but without the fans, there is no show, fundamentally. So, but as far as the reset, I think that the reset's going to be sooner than rather than later. I think a lot of what Jim Ho was talking about earlier, I was listening in. There's a lot of things, not to say wrong with, but I'm always left with the thought that it's only paranoia and it's not true. It's important to keep in mind. So, there is a lot of things that, the idea of market reset, the idea of, and just having a shoot job that is a business-related job, being a business owner, doing that kind of stuff, seeing firsthand how these things have been. There are a lot of questions and answers as to why the response has been the way it's been and how it's been. And there's such a degree, I think, of manipulation that way on all sides from that it just bothers things. But something else I think folks have to ask with news sources and other sources that it is so difficult to invent those kind of things. And in a world where we have technology, no one's ability to do things, we believe we see less than ever with our own eyes. Because, 20, 30 years, I'm old enough to say this, 20, 30 years ago, ABC, NBC, CBS, the news was the news. It was boring, but it was what it was. If you switched the channel, it was the same. It was the same fact, same stuff. Today, only different networks, 6 different networks, 6 different stories. all different. It's all editorialized. And that makes it very difficult to parse out, well, what it really is. And that sort of lack of transparency leads even more to these kind of fearful situations where folks don't know. Where it is. And it gets very personal. People get very upset because it's involving things that are very personal for that. People's families, children, they kind of plays in those emotions. The other side of it. But the economy and people's jobs, you can't stay at home with your hope, and the idea of these sort of measurements and things in place that are sort of kicking the can down the road, that's really all that is, and eventually the bill comes due anyway. So, I'm worried for that for the rest of the workers. I mean, there are no gimmicks being sold with the real money's name for almost all of us at these shows. There are no shows being done. There's no way to do it. You can't go to the gym. If you're looking at the gym, you something up saying it can set everything back. But I do think that we're going to start seeing events opening up. Realistically, probably August in terms of getting pro wrestling back as far as live shows, except a realistic time frame. But my guess is that these numbers came out as they are, that by Mother's Day, I'm not saying in 3 to 4 weeks, most people will be back to work as it was before, I guess. That may be more optimistic numbers, but that's what I'm thinking at least right now. I hope so, because,
I hope you're right.
To do that way, no.
I absolutely hope you're right, CEO. And this is the time of the show where we usually ask you to tell us where you're going to be in action next. But unfortunately, there's no way to know. But I hope you're right. So on that note, let me say that thank you for your dedication to the sport. I know that when we kicked off the interview, you talked about your career-threatening injury and how you overcame it, and you continue to be a part of the business and contributing. Obviously, the Wrestle Talk podcast, we have dropped the ball by waiting 292 episodes to talk to CEO. I mean, geez freaking Louise, Papa Cheese. How in the world, Dios mío, cómo es posible that we waited this long to talk to CEO? I personally hope that we have the opportunity to talk to you again before the end of the year, after a couple of shows are under your belt for 2020. But CEO, I'll tell you what, you officially have a new fan in the Night Owl. That's Night with a K. The Night Owl, Renee Martinez, and I know the members of the Wrestle Talk family, because right now we've still got over 10 people watching on the Facebook live stream, and the audio is crap, and it's all my fault. But I'll tell you what, I'm grateful that we had this opportunity, grateful that you were able to share these fantastic stories, and really more than anything, CEO, I cannot wait to see you back in the ring doing what you love, man. Any words of encouragement or guidance for the other members of the pro wrestling community out there that are going through the very same thing that you are right now?
Well, I think we got to stay true for that and for ourselves and just love that we have. But one good thing for this is a chance for us to really hone in and focus on what we love and kind of get that fuel into the fire, because it's so easy, I think, to go and take it for granted, the kind of the week in, week out, and let the strains on the body and the mind of things kind of take away from the excitement. That's easy to let those things do over time. Because almost all of us are working virgins, all of us are working many restaurants. So all the things are there, all the pressure are there. But maybe there's a blessing in all this that it kind of gets us to recenter it and say, this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is worth all the sacrifices to work, because this is the kind of love we have for it, and it's worth it. It's worth it for yourself, worth it for your family, it's worth it for your community. And people need entertainment. They need entertainment. It's an essential, important thing. I mean, that's, storytelling, all that, not just for stage purposes. Storytelling is for entertainment. And people do this with your small child. And folks need that. And they need community and camaraderie. They need the story of wrestling as life works. The heel and the face, the villain, the hero. People need that in their lives, and we need it. And we're going to get back to it, and it's going to be better than ever. And I expect to see the crowd come back. And I expect to see great events, and I can't wait to be part of it. Thank you so much for letting me be on the show.
Oh, no problem, sir. It has been an absolute pleasure, and the only thing that we want you to do is tell fans
how they can get in touch with CEO, and Mama said you'll come back on again. That's all you got to do.
Well, I definitely can't wait to get back on. And for a living, it's never short to be talking. Don't worry about that. As far as finding certain things to be out on Facebook, check out the page, Strong Lever Dog, it's the CEO, the homage to IRS there, Gerald R. Scheiter. Appreciate you. But just anything, fans, others, work, anything you need for that, I'll be open and honest with you because I can help you out. We share the love this time and every time, brother. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, sir. It has been an absolute pleasure. Until next time. Oh, my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, that was the freaking CEO. Wow, we waited too long to have that guy on this podcast. That was a great...
I blame you, Joe. I blame you.
I'll take the blame. I will take the blame for that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be the end of the Wrestle Talk podcast with Joe and Renee. Until next week, thanks everybody for calling in. Thanks everybody for supporting us. Thanks to all of our supporters. Jay Hollywood, you know who the heck you are. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Wrestle Talk podcast with Joe and Renee. And any last word before I close it out, sir?
That's right, baby. 24/7 at WrestleTalkPodcast.com. And here's what's really cool. I had a few of my family members from Mexico, that my aunts, my cousins, watch the show today and follow the Wrestle Talk podcast on Facebook. So if you haven't done that, shame on you. And then also, we're up to 27 likes on the live stream. If you have not hit the like button, the share button, the heart button, do us a favor. And I can't believe with as many people that have been watching, we have 6 shares right now. Do us a favor, get us up to 30 likes. We're going to pick someone to give away a Wrestle Talk podcast mug to. But do us that favor, get us up to 30. Tell people about the Wrestle Talk podcast. And remember to hit the like and the share button immediately after joining the broadcast so that more people have the opportunity to win and enjoy the Wrestle Talk podcast with Joe and Renee. Huge thanks to the FWWC, all the callers on the first hour, Jay Hollywood of the Conspiracy Farm with his co-host, UFC Hall of Famer Pat Milicic, and of course, the one and only CEO. That was such a great conversation. I hate that my audio started acting up, but nevertheless, definitely do not regret making that happen, and I cannot wait to talk to him again. Guys, stay safe. Practice social distancing. Do your part so that this crap can be over and we can get back to WRESLING. And that is wrestling, amigos. Nightmare Jones, Night Out with a K, signing off for episode 292 of the Wrestle Talk podcast with Joe and Renee. Grace and peace, everybody. Have a great night and support our sponsors. Peace! Turn it up, Jonesy! Turn it up! That's you turning it up? Really? Another episode in the books. I'm about to go flirt with my wife. Thanks to everybody who tuned in for the very first time tonight. What an absolute honor and a pleasure it is to serve you guys. Guys, WrestleTalkPodcast.com. We're going to be updating everything very, very soon. Continue to support us. Please hit the share button. Hit the like button. We'll be back next week on Tuesday, starting at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I am the Night Owl with a K, signing off. Catch you guys soon.